and welcome to Panther Sports Zone. I'm Caleb Carter.
And I'm Dorian Waller. This past week, the men and women's track team competed. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're having a couple of technical difficulties. This past week, the men and women's track team competed in the University of Houston Spring Break Invite and the historic TSU Relays. At the UH Invite, several Lady Panthers earned top 3 placements in their respective events. Teammates Ashaj Harris and Morgan E. Nukes took 2nd and 3rd in the 200-meter dash. As Jordan Deadweiler and Jasmine Gray placed similarly in the 400-meter hurdles. 800-meter specialist Dinah Murphy finished 2nd with a time of 2 minutes and 12 seconds, by far the fastest time run this season in the SWAC. In field events, freshman Savoria Anderson placed 2nd in the triple jump with a leap of 11.95 meters, and sophomore Aaliyah Beecham secured 2nd place in the javelin throw. At the 70th edition of the TSU Relays, the Panthers continued with their impressive performances. In his first 400 of the outdoor season, junior Christian Derrick left the field in his wake, taking home gold in the event with a time of 48 seconds. Twin sisters Sydney and Shelby DeVeretz finished within seconds of each other in the 800-meter run, both placing in the top 3. Distance supervisor Jamal Wotes moved down to the 800-meter, where he impressed with a time of 1 minute and 56 seconds, good enough for 4th overall. The men and women's 4x4 teams both took home 1st place as they ran the fastest times of any team early into the season. The Panthers will be back in action this Friday and Saturday, March 25th and 26th, as they get set to host the 88th annual Prairie View Relays.
Now we move to baseball. The Prairie View A&M baseball team concluded a weekend series versus Grambling State with a 1-2 overall record, falling in games 1 and 2, 9-3 and 10-1, before winning the final matchup 8-3. After being outscored 19-4 in their previous 2 affairs, the Panthers got everything clicking in the 3rd game against the Tigers. The first run of the game didn't come until the bottom of the 4th inning as a single scored for GSU. The Panthers responded by bringing runs in over the next 3 innings, including a monster 5-run 7th frame, which put them up 7-1. The Panthers added another run in the 9th inning to go back up 6 runs, a lead that GSU wouldn't be able to overcome, securing the win for the Panthers. Pitcher Derek Curry earned his first win of the season as Joshua Lazarball came in the save. With 3 plate appearances, left fielder Kellen Rogers brought in 2 runs and walked once in the contest. Zachary Trevino and Alex Martinez both went 2 for 4 at bat in the game. The Panthers will return to action when they host the Jarvis Christian Bulldogs for midweek action Wednesday, March 23rd, in a doubleheader. The first pitch is set for 1 p.m. at Tankersley Field.
The Prairie View A&M University softball team hosted the Lady Braves of Alcorn State Friday and Saturday for their home opener, picking up a 5-1 win on Friday and splitting Saturday's doubleheader action, winning the first game 10-5 and the second game 8-6. In the first of 3 games, the Lady Panthers came prepared, scoring 2 runs off 2 hits in the bottom of the 2nd, following an Alcorn run at the top of the 5th to make it a 2-1 ball game. PV added 3 more runs in the frame of Vivian Figueroa single and subsequent single Audrey Garcia, which brought in 2 or more. The score stayed the same the rest of the way as PV won the first game. The second contest between the 2 teams proved more of the same as the Lady Panthers offense came into full force. Down 3-1 going into the 5th, the Lady Braves scored 4 runs of their own to go up 5-3. The Lady Panthers proved more than ready for the challenge as they nearly doubled the Braves' output in the frame with a nuclear 7 runs in the 5th, including a grand slam by Madison Parker. Once more, neither team scored again as PV claimed the second game as well. In the final game, things proved different as Alcorn was able to put runs on the board past the 5th inning. Down 6-3 in the 7th inning, the Lady Braves scored 5 to take a 2-run lead as Prairie View couldn't find a way to respond in the final contest of the series in a narrow loss. Prairie View will continue SWAC play when they face Arkansas Pine Bluff in Pine Bluff, Arkansas this Friday, March 25th, with the first pitch set for 3 p.m.
Now we talk a little bit about golf. Over spring break, the men and women's golf team competed in the BCGCA Houston National Tournament hosted at the Sterling Country Club Monday and Tuesday, March 14th and 15th. Both teams finished third overall as Taylor Harvey led the Lady Panthers carding a 16 over par, finishing fourth, while Rodarius Walters received second low medalist honors, shooting a career low 2 over par, just one stroke off the first place. Up next, the Panthers men's golf team compete today and tomorrow at the UC San Diego Invitational in Greater San Diego area. The Lady Panthers golf team picks things up 2 weeks from now in the Cardinal Challenge at the Beaumont Country Club, hosted by Lamar University, April 4th and 5th.
Moving on to tennis, on Saturday, March 19th, the women's tennis team beat the Southern Lady Jaguars 4-0. The win brings them to an impressive 6-2 record on the season, their only loss coming to Alabama State and the top-ranked Jackson State. Currently, the Lady Panthers find themselves positioned as the third best team in the SWAC.
Now to a little bit of volleyball. Head Prairie View A&M volleyball coach Tacho Tyler has been awarded a full tuition scholarship to the NCAA WCA Academy, where she will be a participant from May 24th through the 26th. A former player for the Lady Panthers volleyball squad, Tyler enters her 7th season at the helm for PV. Last season, the Lady Panthers finished with a 7-10 record in conference to a 7th appearance in the SWAC tournament. Congrats again to Coach Tacho Tyler. And when we come back from the break, we'll be talking about SWAC basketball teams in the postseason. Don't get anywhere after the break.
Welcome back to Panther Sports Zone. Moving on to SWAC basketball. Mississippi Valley State University alumni and program legend George Ivory has been announced as the 12th head men's basketball coach in the school's history. Ivory previously served as head coach at Arkansas Pine Bluff, where he led the Golden Lions for 13 seasons. Prior to UAPB's, Ivory was an assistant at Mississippi Valley, where he graduated from in 1988. Prior to being an assistant coach, Ivory played ball for Mississippi Valley State in a starring role for the Delta Devils. Over the course of his 4-year career, he was selected as a Freshman of the Year, First Team All-SWAC, SWAC Tournament MVP, and Player of the Year. A basketball legend in the Delta, he remains as the program's leader in assists, steals, and minutes played.
Continuing with SWAC basketball. After a historic season for the Lady Tigers of Jackson State, their season unfortunately came to an end when they faced the number 3 seed LSU in the opening round of the NCAA tournament, falling 77 to 83. A tech issue to head coach Tamika Reed sparked a turnaround by the Lady Tigers and defending SWAC tournament champs in the second half, outscoring LSU 30-16 in the third quarter. Down by 17 with 8:44 to play in the third quarter, Jackson State outscored LSU for the remainder of the period to take a 58-57 lead at the end of the period. Up 74-64 with less than 5 minutes left in the game, JSU was outscored 19-3 as LSU retook the lead and advanced to the round of 32 with the close win. Maya Crump led the way for the Lady Tigers, scoring 21 points and 5 rebounds as running mate Amaisha Williams-Holiday had a double-double of 15 points and 12 rebounds.
Continuing on with basketball, for the 6th time since 2014, the Texas Southern Tigers found themselves in the NCAA tournament as a 16th seed after facing in-state competition, and fellow 16th seed Texas A&M Corpus Christi in the first 4. Following a decisive 76-67 win over the Islanders, the Tigers found themselves in the unavailable task of taking down the top-seeded Kansas Jayhawks. Unfortunately, a big first half by the Kansas Jayhawks marked the beginning of the end for Texas Southern basketball season with a final score of 83-56. To begin the game, it was TSU who scored the opening bucket, but the Jayhawks answered back with a 7-0 spurt over the opening minutes. Down 7-12 with 15:46 remaining in the first half, Kansas used a 17-5 run to increase their lead, up by as much as 28 to the end of the opening period. After the break in play, the Tigers scored twice as much as they did in the second half with 37 points, but the Jayhawks continued to control the game with the 3-ball, not allowing TSU to get within 20 points of them, punching their ticket to the next round. John Walker III scored 13 points and blocked 4 shots, while starting guard Bryson Gresham chipped in with 9. Senior Carl Nicholas added 7 points alongside 9 rebounds. TSU closed out the season with a 19-13 record, which marked its most wins in a season since head coach Johnny Jones first took over in 2018. Every year, we're seeing more and more HBCUs in postseason basketball. So, Caleb, I wanted to ask you, what do you make of this trend? You know, we're seeing a lot of more teams from the SWAC, and not really just the SWAC, HBCUs across the country in the postseason.
Right. I mean, like you say, it's encouraging to see because, you know, we see TSU and Jackson State in the tournament. We see Howard from the MEAC in the tournament. So it's encouraging to see that because we know with HBCUs, it's not a matter of talent because we have the talent. We have we have the skill to compete with these other teams, but it's a matter of publicity. So when we see these teams on that big stage when it comes to March Madness, it's pretty encouraging to see.
I agree. So I really think, you know, I think kind of, you're right about the talent. I think it's more publicity. And I know the NCAA tried to, you know, for say, get HBCUs more out there with their coaches versus racism tournament they had earlier this season. But I think more and more real larger-than-life talent is going to start, you know, approaching HBCUs. You know, they see the postseason success that some of these teams are having. You know, I'd like to talk about 5-star Mikey Williams. You know, he has made a lot of noise in the high school area, and he's actually talked about coming to HBCU. You know, he mentioned Prairie View, he mentioned Texas Southern. He even mentioned Norfolk State, who was also in the tournament as a 16th seed against Baylor. So I just think, you know, I think more so, and going ahead in the future, I think we can see HBCUs coming maybe as a 15, 14 seed, hopefully in the future.
Right, and honestly, you're on to something with that because we see with, you talk about Mikey Williams, you know, having interest in coming to HBCUs. We see that Shaq's son, Shakir, has attended TSU because we see that TSU has made it to the tournament, I want to say 6 out of 7 years. Yeah. So that getting a name out there is going to bring those high-profile names into the basketball teams. But Dorian, I kind of want to throw a thought out there, and I want you to tell me how you feel about it.
All right.
Because we see what Coach Deion Sanders and coaches like Hugh Jackson and Eddie George are doing over in the football side. But I would think that when we talk about March Madness, I would think that a berth to the tournament and more so a win in the tournament, which would mean more for HBCUs when it comes to, you know, getting a name out there than even say what Coach Deion Sanders is doing at Jackson. So how would you feel about that?
I would say wins are always important, you know. I feel like for there to be more, you know, more concern, more publicity for these teams, they would have to, like, get a big-time win. You know, if, let's say Norfolk actually beat Baylor, that would be big time for the program. You know, Texas Southern is a really dominant program, and that's why they, you know, get more talent to come to their school because they, like you said, 6 out of the last 7 years, they're always dominating. Even back when I was a child and I was going to the Texas Southern Prairie View games, you know, they were always the it school, the it basketball school. So I think, but on the flip side, I would like to have some possible NBA coaches, you know, come coach Prairie View's teams, coach HBCU teams, because, for example, they had Avery Johnson on the commentary for the March Madness games, an awesome coach, coached at Alabama, coached at the Indiana Pacers in the NBA, a longtime NBA coach. For him to come here, let's say to Prairie View, it will be a gateway to the NBA, and maybe not just the NBA, you know, overseas action, more professional opportunities for these players once they leave Prairie View.
Right, and you see a coach like Cynthia Cooper over at TSU coaching the women, and she's a former WNBA player. So when you talk about that, I just think that, you know, celebrities giving back to the HBCUs, it's a win-win, right? Yeah. It'll just boost the publicity and in turn boost the talent that comes to HBCUs.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I would like to see a lot of coaches come, but the likeliness of it, because, you know, a lot of coaches, for them, it's about the money at this point in their career. So let's say Avery Johnson, you know, I would feel like he would be more apt to take, you know, the Alabama job that he took a couple seasons prior, coaching Colin Sexton. You know, it's about the money. So that's why they probably tend to go to these bigger name schools. But I would want to see, you know, let's say you said Cynthia Cooper's over there coaching TSU, a great program. You know, their basketball program, both men's and women's, has been stellar for the last 10 years at least. So I would just say, you know, I would rather see, like, more coaches come to the Prairie Views, the Norfolk States, the Texas Southerns. But is it likely right now? I don't think so, unfortunately.
Well, it's still to be determined, because we see that HBCUs have been getting a lot of attention. So, you know, we just can't wait to see what the future holds for HBCUs and Prairie View in particular. But coming up next, we bring up the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year and soccer star Andrea Nugent. Stay tuned after the break.
And welcome back to Panther Sports Zone. Joining us today, we have defender for the Prairie View soccer team, Andrea Nugent. Andrea, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for coming out today.
No problem. I just wanted to say my last name is Nugent.
Nugent?
Yes, sir.
You said get it right, brother.
It's okay.
So I wanted to start off with asking, how long have you been playing soccer?
I've been playing soccer since I was 12. I grew up watching my sister play, and that just made me want to play. But I have always played up a couple years, so I played with like 15 and 16-year-olds.
So you was always elite above your class, huh?
I mean, that's what helped me get my whole physicality going, and yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Right, and we talk about being elite and above your class. I mean, I'm just reading these numbers here. I mean, you've done it all. I mean, you've 5-time Defender of the Week in the SWAC, preseason Defender of the Year, and you've won the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, just outstanding awards. So, what do you think is responsible for that type of defensive prowess?
I just think a lot of it comes with like having a leadership role, because obviously I'm, not obviously, but I'm captain on the team. So for me, being like motivating and setting an example on the field is a big thing for me. And I just want to like help the girls get to where they want to be and help myself get to where I want to be.
Right, and when you talk about, you know, being captain of the team, because that's a big responsibility. You got some players under you looking to you for their leadership, and you talked about it, you know, being that role model, so to speak. But how has the reception been from your teammates? Right, how have they received you as the captain? How have they embraced you? I
mean, I'm sure they see it, like they not see it, but they understand. Right. They're comfortable letting me lead them in a way that, because we always have our coaches, you know, they don't know the inside what's going on in the team. Right. And so I just hope they're comfortable telling me anything they want to tell me and things like of that nature.
Right, right.
So being the captain comes with a big responsibility, both on and off the field. So as far as your on-field play, has there been a performance that has stand out to you?
Besides the obvious, the championship game, you know, that's the answer everybody would say. But mine would have to be the first game of the season, because that's when you have all the jitters and you want to get out there, and we've been waiting like all summer to do this. But we lost against Lafayette, but it was still a good game. Like, we played together, we just went out there and had a blast.
That's good to hear. So what makes that game particularly stand out for you about personal play? Did you have a great game, or is there something you wanted to improve on that game that you improved on later in the season?
I mean, it wasn't more so of me. It was more so of a team, like what we did as a team. Like, we worked all summer to have that bond on and off the field. So it was good just seeing them go on the field and practice everything that we went through, and it just went play by play, piece by piece. Like it was just perfect. I mean, it was unfortunate that we did end up losing, but I still think it was a good game for us.
Right. So you talked about it a little bit, the SWAC championship, and we talked about this off camera, how you're a junior now. Mm-hmm. This being your third year here, and you've won the SWAC championship 2 out of those 3 years. So how does that feel? You know, you've basically been the house of champions with the soccer field.
Well, when I came in my freshman year, I wasn't like sure about like if they won championships or not. So I wasn't really aware that they didn't win the championship.
Right.
So it meant a whole lot more to them than it did to me, but it still meant a lot to me to help them get to that point. But it felt great. Like it hit me the day after we won the championship. Like I just woke up like a SWAC championship. But when we got the rings, that's when
it really set in.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about that SWAC championship game because, man, I remember I heard that crowd roaring, and I just knew the soccer team had come out on top. So take me back to that moment when we saw your teammate kick in that winning penalty kick.
Okay, so actually we was watching the PKs. All that goes through your mind is, like, some people don't even watch. Like on our team, they don't watch. They just pray. Like they just look up.
Right.
But that's something I do. I pray. But it's like it's really a scary moment. Like it's 50-50. It's 50-50 the whole game. But at that point, like you're just locked in on the goalkeeper and the player. But after we won, seeing the crowd come on the field, like our supporters, they love us so much. They're so good to us. But it's a good feeling for sure. It's like breathtaking. Like it's a really good feeling.
Right.
So we know soccer is now in its off season. So what have you and your teammates been doing to prepare for the next season?
We do a lot of mental work and tactical work on the field, but a lot of people think that it's just us practicing on the field. Like we do a lot of special topics, and we see sports psychologists. Like we get our bond together off the field so we can have a better outcome in the game on the field. And I think that our coach incorporating that was a really smart idea. She's a good coach for that.
So you would say your bond with your teammates is really strong at this point?
Yeah, we have a good bond.
So when you say y'all have a good bond, do y'all like go hanging out after practice? You know, I know some teams like to go hit up the bowling alley after practice. Is there fun things that you like to do?
I mean, we don't hang out as a team. More, I mean, because we do spend a lot of time with each other, like on the field, at practice. We spend every day with each other. So in weights, but there are times where we do get together and we'll probably go like to eat or something.
Now, when we talk about being close with teammates, right? I mean, you say that you may not, you know, hang out, do extracurriculars with the rest of the team, but I do notice that your sister plays with you. So how is that, you know, being competitive with each other on the field?
Well, at practice, it's always a blast. Cause it's either I'm going up against her or somebody else is going up against her. So I'm always I'm like sitting there coaching her. But when we go up against each other, like everybody is like, oh, like there go the sisters.
Right.
But I've been playing with my sister since I've started playing. Like we've always played with each other and we've always played next to each other. So it's a good experience for both of us because she teaches me things I don't know, and I can probably teach her things that she doesn't know, and we're always talking to each other.
Right. So I want to go back to talking about next season, right? Because I noticed that you guys have a lot of seniors and a lot of graduate students leaving the team. So how will it be, you know, stepping into that leadership role? I mean, you're already a captain, but you know, replacing those players' shoes.
It's definitely hard to replace their shoes. JoJo, Quinn, because they were good mentors, good leaders. I did look up to them a lot these past 3 years, actually. And I was actually sad that they were leaving. All the seniors, I've developed really strong connections and lifelong friendships with these girls. So seeing them leave was really heartbreaking. But like the one who really set me off was obviously my sister.
Right.
and Genesis, because she was supposed to graduate with me. Okay. Like, we came in as freshmen together. We did those hard times as freshmen.
Right.
And then she's on her stuff, and she's just leaving me. But I'm happy for her.
Right. So when we talk about next season, what are you most looking forward to? Excuse me.
It's okay.
What are you most looking forward to come next season?
Next season, winning.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah,
that's a good answer. So I wanted to stay on the topic of you and your sister, because to me that's really cool. You know, I'm an only child. I never had an opportunity to play with. Obviously, never had an opportunity to play with somebody I looked at as a brother. So, who first introduced you and your sister to soccer, or was it like just a mutual thing that y'all picked up together?
No, my dad actually coached. He introduced us, so she was playing club with a different team that he didn't coach. And then when I started playing, he wanted to coach us both. So he coached us until I actually got to college. So I did club, high school with him, and then he had to let me go. He had to let somebody else coach me in college, but he's still coaching me on the sidelines every game.
I was just about to ask, he's at every game?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good father figure right there.
Yeah.
So you say his impact on you and your sister's success as soccer players, what would you rate it 1 to 10?
100.
100. Oh, that's breaking the scale.
Right. Now, just to wrap up, because I know we may have some future players watching right now, some incoming freshmen. So what would you say to them to get their minds right, to get their body right coming into this season?
I would say definitely take the summer to get your mindset right, like breathe, start either looking at our film or trying to just read a lot of books about sports psychology and train summer. Because when I came in for summer training, it was rough. It was really rough. So I would say train a lot, get your fitness right. You don't have to worry too much about strength, but the fitness would be a big one. Right,
okay. Well, I mean, you got to excuse us. We thank you for coming on today, Andrea. I mean, you really blessed us with your knowledge on soccer. I mean, I'm rooting for you come next season. I mean, you've already done enough, but we can't wait to see you, get some more accolades to your name.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. And that'll be all for today's episode of Panther Sports Zone. Make sure to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. for more sports news from around the SWAC and at PV. Once again, I'm Caleb Carter.
And I'm Dorian Waller.
And we're signing out.